guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige. This is my open book. We have a new background. As you can see, I got a new bookshelf situation. Let me know down below if you guys want like a bookshelf tour, if that's something you would be interested in, because I can film that for you if you're interested. But yeah, I got a new like corner bookshelf, and then I still got this one that I had before, but we got a little bit of an upgrade. So hope you guys like the new background. I love it. I actually have room for more books, which is exciting. That way when I'm done with this book buying ban that I'm on, I have plenty of space for when I finally get to have my Barnes & Noble shopping spree. So I'm excited. We're coming at you with another weekly reading wrap up for the month of October. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's talk about the books I read last week. Unfortunately, the first book of the week was a DNF. This was The Fall of Bradley Reid by Morgan Elizabeth. So this is part of her series where it's like the female main characters are getting revenge on their exes. So I read the first book in this series around Christmas time last year because it was like a Christmas themed, and I felt like it was cute, but it also wasn't like amazing. I think I probably gave it like 3 or 4 stars. Like, it was good for the holiday season and I did enjoy it, but it wasn't like top tier, you know what I mean? This is actually the third book in the series. The second one did not interest me in the slightest, so I skipped that one. But this one I thought would give like fall vibes. Yeah, it didn't, first of all. That was the first thing that kind of like, I think, contributed to me not finishing it. Other than that, I think what rubbed me the wrong way about this one is like from the female's point of view, it was so repetitive. Like every chapter was like her feeling sorry for herself because of the way her ex like left her at the altar or whatever. Which, you know, I can't even imagine what it must feel like. So, like, I get it, but literally every chapter from her point of view was exactly the same. Her friends making sure she was okay, her lying about the fact she was okay, her obsessing over work and trying to get revenge on the ex. Like, it was literally like every chapter was exactly the same from her point of view for me. And I liked the male main character's point of view. So basically, while she is trying to get revenge on her ex, this guy's an FBI agent and he's like investigating her, and he sees her search history and sees like, oh shit, she's about to, you know, do things that she could get arrested for, and he doesn't want that because it interferes with his case, basically. So obviously at first, like, I could understand why he didn't have the best opinion of her, because to him she just seemed like a rich girl who was like a snob, I guess. But he quickly realizes that she's not that way, but he still treats her that way. And I'm pretty sure I even got past the halfway mark and it still felt like the same. Like, I just didn't, I don't know, this one just wasn't for me. Wasn't for me. Like I said, the first one I think is good for Christmas time, so keep that in your back pocket because we're getting close to Christmas time. But this one was a miss for me, so I DNF'd it. Not the best start to the week, but that's okay. After that, I was kind of in a slump. Like, nothing was sounding good. I didn't want to read anything that was on my TBR. I wasn't in the mood. Nothing sounded good. Nothing was hitting me. So whenever that happens, whenever I'm in a slump, I do a reread of one of my favorites. So I actually did 2 rereads back to back. The first one that I reread was Catch Me When I Fall by A.L. Jackson. This is part of her Falling Stars series. And I recently did a reread of this series right here, which is her Bleeding Stars series. I reread that earlier this year, and the Falling Stars series is kind of like a spin-off of that one. So I went into that. This is technically book 2, and I did talk about this in my dark romance video, so I'll link that up above. This definitely has some darker topics in it because of something that happened to the female main character in her past. The male main character is definitely one of those like morally gray types where it's definitely not a nice guy. And some of his intentions are not exactly the best at the beginning, but it all makes sense in the end. A.L. Jackson knows how to wrap it all up in a nice pretty bow at the end, and it all just makes sense. But anyway, this is following a country band. They're kind of like a grittier country vibe, and the female main character is the singer of the band. Her name's Emily, and she's going through a hard time, and the band is trying to decide whether or not they're going to sign with this really big record label. But there's a bit of a caveat because the people of the record label are tied into this traumatic thing that happened in Emily's past. So she's very hesitant about signing with them, but obviously she hasn't told anyone else in the band about what happened to her, so they don't know why she's so hesitant. So it's kind of like starting to form resentment. And the other member of the band is actually her brother, and he especially is like so mad at her for not signing, and it turns into this whole thing. So he thinks it would be a good idea if there's someone from the record label that comes out to try and convince her to sign. So that's where Royce comes in. Royce is our male main character, and he works for the record label, who clearly something shady is going on, but you don't really get the secrets revealed right away. And Emily and Royce have an instant connection with each other. But yeah, this is definitely one of those instances where he tries to tell her, like, you're too good for me, you don't want to do this, but she just can't deny the chemistry that they have. And it just goes from there. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. It's a 5-star reread for me. And yeah, this, you guys know A.L. Jackson's my favorite author, but specifically the Bleeding Star series and the Falling Star series, those are like my comfort rereads. Like whenever I'm in doubt, I know I can go back to those series and they will hit the spot every single time. Every single time. So yeah, this was a good reread for me, and it definitely got me out of my slump. The next book that I read was actually also a reread. Not really because I was in a slump, but it's a baseball romance. So this is The Dugout by Meghan Quinn. So there's 2 reasons why I wanted to reread this book. One, Meghan Quinn just celebrated her 10-year anniversary of being a published author. In order to celebrate that, she came out with like bodice ripping covers for like her top 12 books, I think, or something like that. And this is one of them. And I'm actually going to show you the ripped bodice cover because I ordered it and it's going to come in the mail very soon, I hope. I think today that I'm posting this video on the 30th is the last day you could buy it. I'll try to remember to link it down below if they're still available. They're so pretty. I love them. Her illustrator did such a good job, and I think I ordered like 5 books from this collection. So yeah, as you can see, he's got a cookie in his mouth, and for the life of me I could not remember the significance of this cookie. It was really bothering me, so that made me want to reread it. But another reason why I wanted to read a baseball romance specifically is because my husband and I have been watching the World Series. We are rooting for the Diamondbacks, and we've been trying to get into sports again because for a while we weren't watching any sports at all, and we miss it. We miss, you know, there's nothing like having a team that you root for and you just like see them succeed. It's just the best, okay? So we're watching the World Series right now, so I was definitely in a baseball mood, and I knew this would hit the spot because I haven't been able to find any other baseball romance series that is as good as this one. So I went back to my roots and I read The Dugout by Meghan Quinn. So the premise of this one, the female main character, her name is Millie. She is kind of like a socially awkward girl, but she's also like the guy's girl. Like she grew up with all brothers and they were all super into baseball, so she became obsessed with baseball, but not just the sport, but more so like the physics behind it and like how to perfect your swing. Like she's really good at that. You know, she works with some of the sports teams because it's related to her degree. I think her degree is like kind of like a physical therapy, like sports medicine kind of vibe. Obviously she's obsessed with baseball. That's like her #1 because that's what she grew up with. That's like her bread and butter. In her free time she coaches like a kids baseball team, and it's so cute. Because she's going to Brentwood University, she goes to all of their games and she knows all the stats of all the players. She keeps up with all of them. And there's one player that particularly has been on her mind lately. His name is Carson. So Carson recently got over an injury where he feels like he got like screwed over by one of his teammates, and he's like, you know, kind of in a funk. And unfortunately that injury prevented him from being drafted along with his friend. So he's like one of the only seniors left on the team, and he's kind of like down on himself. His swing is not been what it should be. He's just really going through it, and he's not feeling like himself. Well, him and Millie have a couple of run-ins where he's like not the best. Because he's going through a hard time, he definitely takes it out on her, and he feels guilty, but he doesn't know like how to apologize to her. And there's just something about Millie, you know? There's just something about her that he just can't forget about. One way or another, she ends up offering to help him fix his swing because she clearly knows what she's doing. She is like an expert on baseball mechanics. So they kind of develop a bond and it goes from there. The third act breakup in this, I will warn you, you will need tissues. Like, Meghan Quinn breaks your heart in this book, but it's okay. She'll put it back together for you, I promise. It's all worth it in the end. But yeah, this is an emotional roller coaster. It's funny, it's cute, it's sweet, it's heart-wrenching. It's just everything. It's everything. And it's a college sports romance setting, which I think is just, it's just like a sigh of relief, you know, going back to a book like this. I just can't describe it. Another 5-star reread, and it was great. Next up, I read this new release, which was like my most anticipated release of the month, honestly, and this is King of Greed by Anna Huang. I am a huge Anna Huang fan, and there was only like one book of hers that wasn't my favorite, which was Twisted Hate. But all the other ones have been like 4 or 5-star reads for me. I've loved them. I'm addicted and I can't get enough. But anyway, King of Greed is a marriage in trouble, which you guys know is one of my favorite tropes. I've been really into those lately. And this one follows Dom and Alessandra. So they were college sweethearts. And this is the 3rd book in the series. So in the first 2 books, you kind of get like glimpses of their marriage and how it's not exactly like, you know, rainbows and butterflies anymore. They're definitely going through a hard time. But you never really know why. And I feel like in the first 2 books, I did kind of get a good idea of Alessandra as a character. Like, I did feel like I already kind of knew her going into book 3 just because she was close with the female main characters in the first 2 books. So I feel like I saw her a lot. But Dom was like the big mystery, you know? It's like, what is it about Dom that is going to set up this story? And learning his backstory was so interesting to me. And I was intrigued like right from the beginning. Basically, Dom is one of those guys where he started from nothing. He was in foster care. He didn't have a penny to his name, but he went to college to make a name for himself. He learned everything. He like built his business from the ground up, and now he's like this big Wall Street mogul. He's like the king of Wall Street kind of thing. And unfortunately, with that, that's kind of become his #1 priority, because in his mind, that's like what life is about, is, you know, making something of yourself and providing for his family. But he's also kind of scared now, because he's like, okay, now that I built this, I can't fuck it up, you know? And unfortunately, because of that, I think he definitely takes his wife for granted, and he feels like, you know, she's the love of my life. She's not going anywhere. So he starts missing dates and dinners and forgetting anniversaries and just like little things over time. But when they go to celebrate their 10-year wedding anniversary, he misses it. The straw that broke a camel's back for Alessandra, she's done. She takes off her ring, puts it on the mantle, and she leaves in the middle of the night. And Dom is so heartbroken, and just like how desperate he is, and like the way that he grovels and the way he like, you know, starts to understand and like see from her perspective like how much resentment she's been keeping buried all this time. And just like the way that he's able to think about what he's done and what he's, you know, been working towards. And he's like, what's the point of having all this if I don't have Alessandra to share it with, you know? And it's just, this book had me in all my feels. It was great. I will say this isn't my favorite marriage in trouble. I ended up giving this, I think, 4 stars or 4.5 stars. I can't remember what my rating was on Goodreads, but I think what left me not wanting to give this 5 stars is the way that Anna Huang put the kind of like the intimate, steamy moments in here. I think like it wasn't that there was too many of them. Honestly, in terms of Anna Huang's backlist, I feel like this is her least spicy book. But for some reason, the scenes in this book where they were like having sex or being intimate with each other, like while they were separated or like while they were going through the divorce, it just kind of like rubbed me the wrong way for some reason. I don't know, this could just be a me thing, but it was just hard for my brain to coincide the fact that she felt like he wasn't being intimate with her. Like, she would say how they would still have sex, but he wouldn't like, you know, brush his hand on her cheek, or, you know, like those like soft moments. He wasn't really doing those anymore, but they would still have sex. And it's like, I think she was just saying that because Anna Huang wanted us to still see Dom as sexy. So like, oh, like the sex wasn't the problem and da-da-da-da. Like, okay, I get that he's good in bed, and I get that they're still attracted to each other because they're married and they're in love. But at the same time, it's like, how can their sex still be so good if he's so neglectful? I don't know, I just feel like my brain couldn't like put those two things together. So the parts where they were being intimate while they were divorced, it just felt weird to me. It's just like, it just felt like Alessandra was putting all of her concerns to the wayside just so she could sleep with him. I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. But that, I think that's just a me thing. I'm not saying Anna Huang did it wrong, you know. I think it was just, in my brain, it just didn't make sense in terms of like the emotional connection not matching. So I don't know, I mean, the scenes were still well written and their chemistry is undeniable, I will say that. So like, I get it, but I don't know. I still recommend you reading it. It was still really good, definitely strong from Anna Huang in my opinion. Ha, that rhymed. This is still my favorite of this particular series. I personally like the Twisted series more than I like the Kings series so far. I still really liked the King series, but I feel like this is still my favorite of the three. Okay, next. I read Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. If you don't know, this is definitely a book that people like obsess over. Like, this is one of those books where if you like it, it becomes part of your personality. Like, there's all kinds of merch for it, and it's definitely one of those like huge fandemoniums going on in the romance world right now. And I really thought that I would be one of those people, truly, like, but I wasn't. I don't think I'm gonna continue the series, if I'm being honest. Yeah, so if you don't know what this book is about, it's supposed to give like Gossip Girl vibes. So if you ever watch Gossip Girl, like Chuck and Blair, how like they're so awful, but when they're together it like makes sense. They just have this undeniable bond that like everybody knows, even though they cheat on each other and they do terrible things and they fight all the time and they act like they hate each other. Everyone just looks at them and knows like, okay, that's just Chuck and Blair. They just love each other. They're just gonna be together in the end. Like, we don't have to worry about them. So I think these two characters have like the same thing going on. It's about BJ and Magnolia. Same thing. They grew up together. They've always had feelings for each other, and they had a great whirlwind of a relationship, but then BJ cheats on Magnolia, and it just like becomes this big toxic mess from there. It's a constant battle between them of like, oh, I hate you, I love you, I'm mad at you, I miss you. And it's like they're friends, but then BJ still like sleeps around with all these people, and then Magnolia pretends to be in these relationships so that people think that she's fine, when in reality she's still not over BJ. I don't know. I mean, I'm all for a messy, angsty love story. I even love a good love triangle, which this does have a good love triangle, I will say. That was probably the only part that I liked. Tom England can get it. Okay? He saved this book for me. I probably would have DNF'd it if it wasn't for him. Just throwing that out there. But I'm all for a messy romance, so that's not what turned me off. I think this book was too long, and I think it just dragged out the narrative way too long. And there's another book in this series about Magnolia and BJ. So the fact that this book was like 500 pages and there's still no HEA, like I still have to read another book. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Sorry if that's, I guess I'll put up spoiler alert or something. I guess that's spoiler, I don't know. I guess I should have known because there's another book, right? I should have known. But I think if this book stopped, like, you could see I have tabs, right? So like I was enjoying the first half, and I feel like probably like at about page 300, if there's like a really great chapter and I was like, oh yes, like this is what I've been waiting for, like this is the moment, like everything else up until this point is okay now, I'm happy, everything's gonna be fine. That's like about 300 page mark. The last 200 pages, I absolutely hated every single second of it. Sorry if that's an unpopular opinion. If you like this book, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. Just I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. I think that Magnolia and BJ are awful people, and I don't even want them to be together at this point. I really don't. I'm sorry. And don't even get me started on how this book ended. When I read the ending of this book, I immediately wanted to write down the name of every single person who said this book was good, so I could send them a threatening note. That's honestly how I felt. No. It's a 2.5-star read for me. The beginning was good. Like, I was invested. It was messy, but I was still like, yes, like I get it, but they love each other, so it's okay, you know? Like, I'm a big Gossip Girl fan. Like, I can appreciate a messy romance like that. I can. It's just, this one, it was just too much. Let me know if you agree with me. Tell me I'm not the only one, because it feels like I'm the only one. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video. This is definitely a weird reading week for me. Sorry to end on a bad note. That's just how it goes sometimes. You can't like everything. You can't like everything, and you can't agree with everybody, right? So, give this video a like and leave a comment down below telling me about a book that you read last week. Give me some good recommendations so that I can recover from Magnolia Parks. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss my future videos. This week coming up, I'm definitely going to be reading more spooky books because it's the last week of Halloween already, which I can't believe that it's already going to be November. So I got to get all my spooky books in before the month is over. So be sure to come back next week for the next weekly wrap up. And I'll see you next time with another video. Bye.